and welcome back to Macro Day right here on Scriptcase by Jamie. And of course, if I can remember that it is Macro Day and a Friday, because yes, it's, when you're deep down in some code, oh my God, you can just miss days. So hopefully this will be the last Friday that I missed. Well, last Friday will be the last Friday that I missed because of Land Raider. Yes, it has been a crazy ride, but it's what it is. Okay, so let's dive in, shall we? So yes, hello and welcome back to Scriptcase by Jamie. Today we have Macro Day, Friday of course. So good morning and good Friday to you all. And hopefully we can check out today the scCaptureDisplay macro, which is a pretty nice little macro to be including within your form or control form applications. So let's dive in, shall we, and just check out today's macro. We have then today the option of creating a form or control form, as this macro works in the two of them. Now we have the form application, and the form is tied to the database. It displays then all of the related fields that you have within the table that you associate the form to. It automatically includes insert, update and delete functionality, as well as navigation and more that you can then include within your project. Now the control form is a special form. It is one of my favorites. So let's use that today. And I will call that control capture. And with that, I am creating this now within the samples project that you are also able to generate anytime you want to within the Scriptcase environment. Now, with the control form, as I mentioned, this is not tied to your database table. So here we need to add our manual fields. So here I will say first name, and then here I'll say last name. And of course we can add any fields in here we want to. We can then specify here the type that we want. We can then add our own insert, update, validation, delete functionalities, however we please on all of our tables if that's really what we want. But that is how this application works. It's one of my favorite applications within Scriptcase. Anyway, let's check this out. So we have now two fields. What I want to do actually is add one more, and I'm going to call this actually the info field. And with the info field, I'm going to set this as a label and go create. Now, as this is an information field, I have two options in hiding the label. One, I can delete it, which I do not want to do today. And the alternative is adjusting the layout. So here I will create a new block. And here, let's call this block BLK0 and create that. And then with that, we have here our block ready, and I'll just position that above our previous block here, our original block that was created, set the label to above, and then we are going to uncheck the display box so that the label within this container is not displayed. And then what I'll do is come here to edit fields and then just drag here the info field up into that block 0. Now block 0 will now have no label displayed, and that way the information we assign there will be beautifully displayed. So then here on load, I will then add some information for that. So here I'll define our field info, and that equals then whatever we want it to be. So here, welcome to Scriptcase by Jamie. There we go. And just like that, we now have a bit of information. And of course, my fat fingers as per usual. So let me go ahead and remove that from here. There we go, Scriptcase by Jamie. At least it's then spelled correctly, right? Because otherwise that's a bit of a shame. Okay, so there we have welcome to Scriptcase by Jamie. And we can, of course, with the control form, make any other adjustments that we want. And as I was saying, today's macro is the scCAPTCHA macro. And this macro will work, as I said, within the control form as well as the form application. And then we can define here on or off. And that would just simply switch on the capture display or switch it off. And of course, maybe as per the example, you maybe just flash saw there within the help documentation, you can actually set that. So if it's maybe the remote or local server or online or whatever validations that you want there, then maybe you would want to switch it on and maybe you would want to switch it off, you know, if you have a demo or local or whatever it may be. And in those cases, you can just very easily just go off and it will be off, or you can give it an on and adjust it how you need. Now, if I go ahead and just add the capture as it is, well, as you see, it is not going to be displayed, even though I have defined that it is on here. So what I need to do then is come here into the security section of our form. And if I scroll down here, we have here the option for capture. And here it says use capture, and it's by default no. And then if I say capture, we have then also the capture v2 and reCAPTCHA v3, so reCAPTCHA v2, v3, and we can use those as well if we want to. Now those of course use the Google API, and that is then something you would then want to add in there. Now with Scriptcase we have the default capture that is integrated here. You have lots of different layout options here that you can define or add for this. So here for instance, I'm just going to go with this one here where the capture is then just above the field. I think that's a little nicer. And then we can customize our capture here however we please. So here I can add 6 characters, 8 characters. I can add here the character list with numbers or without numbers and adjust that however I please. We can adjust the label of the capture field, the error message that is then displayed, the height and width of our capture display, as well as then the font size. So here, let's increase the font size to 30, for instance. And we have also the option for a reload button so that we can reload the capture in case you can't read it, which is pretty much always the case. So here we can just click the refresh now. And as you see now, we have the capture enabled. And of course, we have the onLoad here. And if I comment that out, because let's check then, we will see then that the capture is then still displayed in here. So the macro is an extra function that we can include within our application to maybe just hide the macro, hide the capture as and when we want to, depending on a specific scenario. So there we go. The capture is now off just like that by using the macro. And that is of course very important that the capture itself is built into the control or form application, and then using this macro we can then control or manage the capture even more so. As I said, if I just copy here that piece of code you were seeing there earlier, we have here the example from then the Scriptcase help information, and here for instance we are going to enable the capture if it is local, and then display it or change it, switch it off if it is not. So if I run that again, we now have no capture because, well, I'm not on a 127. I'm not running Scriptcase locally. I'm actually running this via a 192.168.1.15 IP address. So that is where this would not work. So now what I could do then is I could change that to 192.168.1.15. And if I now go ahead and run that, oh, I removed. Yeah, I'm going to have an error there now. Okay, so of course, if you have an error, it's going to be displayed pretty quickly. You're going to know right away. Okay, so there we go. Now we have the remote address, and well, it's not displaying it again still because, well, it's not a remote address, is it? It's a local address. Okay, anyway, you get the idea, I think. So generally, you would want to maybe disable the macro. So here off and then on, depending on your setup, of course. And of course, you can apply any other validation in there and adjust the display of the capture field as and when you need to, just by adding your own little function in there. And just a note, guys, over at Scriptcase NetMake, yeah, there's some errors there with the help information, so maybe you want to check that out, because the control form, well, it does not include an onLoad all, which is what you have there. And yes, as you just seen, I just copied that and we're missing here the final bracket. So that is, of course, going to be maybe a little confusing for a new user. So maybe somebody would like to adjust and, you know, improve that. Anyway, that is the capture that we checked out today. Beware that you need to enable it within the security settings of your form or control application first, and then you can use the macro to enhance the capture display as you please within your own application. So I think that's pretty much it for today. And of course, I hope you enjoyed the capture video today. And yes, I will be making sure next week's video is there. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be seeing you soon.